bring in Political Editor Andrew Clennell, and a couple of rate cuts to kick off a new term in government. That's good politics.
Yeah, well, it's not great news for the economy, is it? But maybe this is the price of low inflation. If we saw that GDP graph, I wouldn't mind bringing that up again, Kieran, and you saw that at a time where there were rate cuts and the inflation was low prior to the pandemic, you saw similar numbers to this, kind of anaemic growth. There you have it. And you've got the same sort of numbers again. I mean, look at that. That period of high inflation, admittedly, we had this great period of high inflation and low growth. That was a shocker. Look at that. But you can see there, that's what you get. So GDP per capita, though, I mean, that is a very concerning figure for the government. It really plays into the arguments of business that your Labor reforms haven't helped productivity. But like you say, there's a real silver lining for the Treasurer. They get rate cuts, which everyone wants. Inflation's low, unemployment's low. And I expect the Treasurer will say natural disasters and exports being down amid global uncertainty are responsible for these anaemic sort of numbers we've got today. They weren't far off some forecasts. I've been told Westpac was saying 0.1, NAB 0.2, ANZ 0.2, so they were both on the money. CBA 0.3. So there was some encouragement last quarter with that 0.6% rise. This is more, and finally there was a GDP per capita increase after so many quarters of negative growth, GDP per capita. But we see productivity is a massive issue for this country. Some good news in a way, I think, is that it's partly responsible for this is less government spending. We need to see free enterprise recover a bit more in this country because we've got too many jobs in the public sector or public-related sector being created. We need more jobs created in the private sector.
You know, we were talking about at the end of the last term, will they get a rate cut before the election? Will they? They did. The rest is history. And now after an election win, as you say, it's anaemic growth. The Treasurer has put out a statement saying that given the uncertainty around the world, any growth is a decent outcome, is the way he put it.
Well, so they can blame the US, eh? I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. It is kind of the number one challenge for this government now. They won the election partly because people didn't want people saw Peter Dutton as another Donald Trump or one with a similar kind of approach to him, although we know a lot of that wasn't true. But, you know, setting up Doge and that lent into that. But the biggest challenge, both in terms of economy and security, is the Trump administration to this administration. And it's a big headache, isn't it? And you've got the Treasurer basically saying that there. Although it's also convenient, I guess, that he can point the finger at the US administration when he talks about growth figures that aren't that flattering for the government.
Andrew, thank you very much.